Why do some people move through life calm, unshaken, and magnetic to success, while others crumble at the slightest challenge? The secret lies in how you respond, not to the world outside you, but to the thoughts within you. Learn to act as if nothing bothers you, and you'll discover a power that quietly reshapes your entire reality. Dr. Joseph Murphy once said, "Your subconscious mind does not argue with you. It accepts what you decree." This means every reaction, every emotion, and every complaint you repeat is taken as truth by your subconscious, the invisible force creating your life. When you choose calm over chaos, when you act unbothered, you're not pretending. You're training your mind to believe that peace, confidence, and abundance are your natural states of being. Because here's the truth: when you stop reacting, you stop feeding fear and negativity with energy, and what you no longer fuel fades. The moment you stay centered in faith, your vibration rises. You become a magnet for solutions, opportunities, wealth, and favor. Life begins to move for you, not against you. In this video, you'll learn exactly how to embody this unshakable state through simple mindset techniques, powerful affirmations, and Dr. Murphy-inspired methods to reprogram your subconscious for peace and prosperity. Watch till the end of this video, because once you master the art of acting as if nothing bothers you, everything you desire will start finding its way to you. You must understand that the secret to living a life where nothing bothers you is not found in changing the world around you, but in changing the world within you. For when you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you are not pretending or deceiving yourself. You are actually training your consciousness to rise above the petty disturbances and irritations that would otherwise consume your peace and drain your power. This is not weakness. This is not avoidance. This is the supreme strength of one who has discovered that the kingdom of heaven is within, that all power comes from the inner realm of thought and feeling, and that no external circumstance can rob you of your peace unless you give it permission to do so through your own reaction. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are taking command of your own consciousness. You are refusing to be a puppet dancing on the strings of circumstance. You are declaring your spiritual independence from the tyranny of conditions. And you are activating a law that has been known to the wise throughout all ages. The law that states that your assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. A woman once told Dr. Joseph Murphy that she was constantly bothered by her neighbor's criticism and gossip, that every word spoken against her would send her into days of misery and rumination. And Dr. Murphy instructed her to act as if the criticism meant nothing, to move through her days as though she were completely unaffected, to refuse to give the gossip any reality in her consciousness. And within a short time, not only did she find genuine peace within herself, but the neighbor's behavior changed completely. For you see, when you withdraw your attention and emotional investment from something, you withdraw its power over you, and often you withdraw its very existence from your world. You are not being asked to become cold or indifferent to life. You are being asked to become indifferent to disturbance, to refuse to let the small things, the irritations, the slights, the inconveniences, the disappointments, the frustrations that fill every day steal your inner tranquility and drain your creative power. Think of a great tree standing in a storm. The wind may howl and the rain may beat against its branches, but the tree does not panic, does not complain, does not collapse in despair. It simply remains rooted. It simply continues to stand. And when the storm passes, the tree is still there, stronger for having weathered the tempest without resistance or fear. This is the state you must cultivate within yourself. This is the consciousness you must develop through practice and persistence. This is the art of acting as if nothing bothers you, and it begins the moment you decide that you will no longer be a victim of circumstance, but a master of your inner domain. The first step in learning to act as if nothing bothers you is to recognize that most of what bothers you exists only in your imagination, in your interpretation, and in your habit of dwelling upon and magnifying every slight and every setback until it fills your entire consciousness and blocks out the light of your true nature. A man once came to Dr. Joseph Murphy complaining that his co-worker's rudeness was ruining his life, that he would lie awake at night replaying conversations, imagining confrontations, building elaborate scenarios of revenge and vindication. And Dr. Murphy asked him a simple question: He asked how much time the co-worker spent thinking about him, and the man suddenly realized that the co-worker probably never thought of him at all, that the entire drama existed only in his own mind, that he was poisoning himself with his own thoughts while the other person moved through life completely unaffected. This is the tragedy of allowing things to bother you. You become your own tormentor. You create your own prison. You generate your own suffering through the misuse of your imagination and the indulgence of negative emotional patterns that serve no purpose except to diminish your vitality and cloud your vision. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not suppressing your feelings or denying reality. You are choosing not to give energy and substance to the things that would drain your power and disturb your peace. You are exercising your divine prerogative to select what you will react to and what you will ignore, what you will feed with your attention and what you will starve through indifference. Consider how much energy you waste every single day reacting to things that will not matter tomorrow, to traffic delays, to rude clerks, to unkind words, to plans that fall through, to weather that disappoints, to technology that fails, to people who disagree with you, to minor injustices and petty annoyances that accumulate like dust and obscure the beauty of your existence. If you could reclaim even half of that wasted energy, if you could redirect it toward your dreams and goals and creative purposes, you would be astonished at what you could accomplish. You would discover resources within yourself that you never knew existed. You would become a different person entirely. The practice of acting as if nothing bothers you is not about becoming passive or resigned. It is about becoming powerful through selectivity, through conscious choice, through the deliberate cultivation of inner immunity to disturbance. And this immunity grows stronger every time you refuse to react. Every time you catch yourself about to become upset and consciously choose peace instead. Every time you act as if you are undisturbed until the acting becomes your reality. You must understand that your reactions are habits, patterns carved deep into your consciousness through years of repetition. And just as you learn to become bothered by things, you can learn to remain unbothered. You can train yourself to respond with peace instead of agitation, with calm instead of chaos, with strength instead of victimhood. When something happens that would normally upset you, there is always a gap, a space between the event and your reaction, and in that space lies your freedom, your power, your opportunity to choose differently. Most people move through this space unconsciously. They react automatically. They allow their habitual patterns to dictate their response. They become upset because they have always become upset. They feel bothered because feeling bothered is what they know. But you can learn to widen that gap, to pause in that space, to observe your own mind preparing to react, and in that moment of observation, you can choose to act as if nothing bothers you. A woman told Dr. Joseph Murphy that she had tried this practice and it felt false. It felt like lying to herself, and he explained to her that all acting is repetition until it becomes natural, that when an actor first learns a role, it feels awkward and unnatural. But through repetition, it becomes second nature. It becomes who they are when they step on stage, and this is exactly how you must approach the practice of remaining unbothered. You must act the part until the part becomes you. You must pretend peace until peace becomes your reality. You must rehearse calmness until calmness becomes your automatic response. This is not deception. This is transformation. This is the ancient principle of assuming the state you wish to embody and persisting in that assumption until your consciousness reshapes itself to match your assumption, until your outer world rearranges itself to reflect your inner world. Think of how much suffering you create for yourself by indulging every negative emotion, by entertaining every disturbing thought, by replaying every offense, by nursing every grievance, by collecting evidence of how unfair life is, how difficult people are, how impossible circumstances are, and recognize that you are under no obligation to continue this pattern, that you can at any moment decide that you will no longer participate in your own suffering, that you will no longer be bothered by things that have no power except the power you give them through your attention and emotional investment. The second principle you must grasp is that being bothered by something never improves the situation, never solves the problem, never brings you closer to what you desire. It only clouds your judgment, weakens your resolve, and attracts more of what you do not want through the law of attraction that governs all manifestation. When you react with anger, you attract more situations that provoke anger. When you react with fear, you attract more situations that justify fear. When you react with irritation and frustration, you set up a magnetic field that draws irritating and frustrating circumstances into your experience. For like attracts like, and your emotional state is broadcasting a signal that the universe must answer with matching conditions. A man once told Dr. Joseph Murphy that he was bothered by his financial difficulties, that he worried constantly about money, that he felt anxious and afraid whenever bills arrived, and this very worry and fear was blocking the flow of prosperity into his life. For you cannot worry your way to wealth, you cannot fear your way to abundance, you cannot attract prosperity while vibrating at the frequency of lack and limitation. Dr. Murphy instructed him to act as if money was no problem, to move through his days as though he were financially secure, to refuse to give energy to his fears, and instead to feel the feeling of abundance, even while his bank account remained small. And as he practiced this consistently, opportunities began to appear, unexpected income arrived, doors opened that had previously been closed because he changed his inner state, and the outer world had no choice but to conform to his new consciousness. This is the great secret that most people never discover. They spend their entire lives trying to change their circumstances while remaining the same internally. They want better results while maintaining the same thoughts and feelings that created their current results. They want to be unbothered while continuing to practice being bothered. And this can never work. For the outer is always a reflection of the inner. The visible is always an expression of the invisible, and if you want your life to change, you must first change yourself. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are changing the fundamental frequency at which you vibrate. You are shifting from resistance to acceptance, from reaction to response, from victimhood to mastery, and this shift changes everything. Now you must learn the practice of substitution, for it is not enough to simply stop being bothered. You must replace the habit of being bothered with a new habit. You must fill the space left by your negative reactions with positive responses. You must train your mind to automatically move toward peace instead of away from it. When something happens that would normally upset you, instead of allowing the upset to take root, immediately substitute a different response. Immediately act as if you are completely at ease. Immediately affirm that all is well, that everything is working out perfectly, that this apparent problem is actually an opportunity in disguise, and do this not because you believe it in the moment, but because you are training yourself to believe it, because you are reconditioning your consciousness through deliberate practice and persistent assumption. A woman came to Dr. Joseph Murphy complaining that her husband's habits irritated her constantly, that she had asked him repeatedly to change certain behaviors, that his refusal to comply was making her miserable, and Dr. Murphy asked her why she was making her happiness dependent on another person's behavior, why she was giving away her power so freely, why she was allowing someone else's actions to determine her inner state. He instructed her to practice substitution, to catch herself the moment irritation began to rise, and instead of indulging it, to immediately act as if she were completely at peace with her husband exactly as he was, to silently affirm that there was perfect harmony in her home, that her husband was free to be himself and she was free to be at peace regardless of what he did or did not do. And as she practiced this substitution consistently, something remarkable happened. Not only did her irritation disappear, but her husband began to change naturally, without pressure or conflict, because she had removed the resistance that was actually reinforcing the behavior she disliked. This is the power of substitution. It breaks the cycle of action and reaction. It interrupts the pattern of provocation and response. It creates a new reality by refusing to participate in the old reality, and the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, until acting as if nothing bothers you is no longer an act at all, but simply who you are. You must also recognize that most of what bothers you is not the event itself, but your judgment about the event, your interpretation of what it means, your story about what should or should not be happening, and when you remove the judgment, when you strip away the interpretation, when you drop the story, what remains is simply what is, neutral and powerless to disturb you. When you say that something bothers you, what you are really saying is that reality is not conforming to your expectations, that life is not following your script, that people are not behaving as you think they should behave, that circumstances are not arranging themselves according to your preferences, and this is the source of all your suffering, this gap between what is and what you think should be, this resistance to reality as it presents itself in each moment. A man told Dr. Joseph Murphy that he was bothered by his age, that he felt he should have accomplished more by this point in his life, that he looked at others who had achieved success earlier and felt himself a failure, and Dr. Murphy explained to him that he was suffering not from his age or his circumstances, but from his judgment about his age and circumstances, that if he could accept where he was without comparison or condemnation, he would discover that he was exactly where he needed to be, that every experience had prepared him perfectly for what was coming next, that there was no such thing as being behind or ahead, only the eternal now with its infinite possibilities. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are practicing acceptance. You are surrendering the exhausting effort of trying to control every detail of your existence. You are acknowledging that life has its own intelligence, its own timing, its own way of unfolding, and that your job is not to resist what is but to work with it, to find the opportunity in every obstacle, to see the gift in every challenge, to trust that everything is conspiring for your highest good, even when appearances suggest otherwise. This does not mean you become passive or give up your goals and desires. It means you pursue them from a state of peace rather than a state of desperation, from a consciousness of abundance rather than a consciousness of lack, from a foundation of inner security rather than a foundation of fear and doubt. The practice of acting as if nothing bothers you also requires that you stop taking things personally, that you recognize that other people's behavior is almost never about you, that everyone is moving through life from their own level of consciousness, their own wounds and fears, their own limited perspective, and when they lash out or behave badly, they are expressing their own inner turmoil, not making a statement about your worth or value. When someone is rude to you, they are not saying anything about who you are. They are revealing who they are in that moment. They are showing you their pain, their frustration, their lack of peace, and you have a choice. You can take it personally and allow their disturbance to become your disturbance, or you can refuse to receive it. You can act as if their behavior has no impact on you whatsoever. You can remain centered in your own peace while they express their chaos. A woman once told Dr. Joseph Murphy that her mother's criticism bothered her deeply, that no matter what she accomplished or how hard she tried, her mother found fault and expressed disappointment. And Dr. Murphy helped her see that her mother's criticism was not really about her. It was about her mother's own unfulfilled dreams, her own regrets, her own inability to find peace within herself. And once she understood this, once she stopped taking the criticism personally, she found she could listen to her mother with compassion instead of pain. She could act as if the words had no power to hurt her, and eventually the words actually lost their power. They became just noise, meaningless sounds that passed through her awareness without leaving a mark. This is the freedom that comes from not taking things personally. You reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of everyone else's moods and opinions. You recognize that you are responsible for your own inner state, and no one else can disturb your peace unless you allow them to do so through your own interpretation and reaction. And when you consistently refuse to be disturbed, when you act as if nothing anyone says or does can shake your foundation, you build a consciousness so strong, so stable, so rooted in truth that you become truly unstoppable, truly free, truly at peace, regardless of external conditions. You must now understand that acting as if nothing bothers you is not merely a psychological trick, but a spiritual principle. For when you refuse to be disturbed, you align yourself with the deeper truth of your being. with the eternal peace that exists beneath all surface agitation, with the divine consciousness that observes all things without being affected by anything. And this alignment brings you into harmony with the creative power of the universe, with the infinite intelligence that governs all things, with the source of all supply and all good. The Bible tells us to be still and know that I am God. And this stillness is not just physical quietness, but inner tranquility. It is the state of consciousness that remains undisturbed regardless of outer circumstances. It is the peace that passes understanding, the peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away. And when you act as if nothing bothers you, you are practicing this stillness. You are training yourself to remain in this state of divine indifference to surface disturbances while staying deeply connected to the truth of who you are and what you are capable of creating. A man once told Dr. Joseph Murphy that he tried to remain unbothered, but certain things were genuinely wrong and needed to be addressed, that acting as if nothing bothered him felt like condoning injustice or accepting mediocrity. And Dr. Murphy explained that there is a vast difference between being unbothered internally and being passive externally, that you can take action, make changes, set boundaries, and pursue improvement, all while maintaining perfect peace within. That, in fact, you will be far more effective in changing circumstances when you approach them from a state of calm, clarity, rather than reactive emotion. For when you are bothered, you cannot think clearly, you cannot see solutions, you cannot access your higher wisdom. But when you remain at peace, you become a channel for divine intelligence. If you receive guidance and inspiration, you move with precision and power instead of stumbling about in confusion and frustration. The greatest leaders, the most effective problem solvers, the people who actually change the world are those who have learned to remain calm under pressure, to act decisively without being disturbed, to face challenges without losing their center. And this is not a talent they were born with, but a skill they developed through practice and persistence. The next level of this practice involves understanding that resistance creates persistence, that whatever you fight against grows stronger, that whatever you give your attention and emotional energy to expands in your experience, and therefore the very act of being bothered by something actually perpetuates that thing, actually ensures that it will continue to appear in your life, actually creates more of what you claim you do not want. When you are bothered by lack of money, you create more lack. When you are bothered by poor health, you reinforce the illness. When you are bothered by difficult people, you attract more difficult people. For your emotional state is your creative state. Your feeling is your prayer. And what you feel strongly about, you draw to yourself through the magnetic power of consciousness. A woman came to Dr. Joseph Murphy distressed about her aging appearance. She was bothered every time she looked in the mirror. She obsessed over every wrinkle and every gray hair. And Dr. Murphy explained that her very distress was accelerating the aging process. That worry and anxiety etch themselves into your face. That stress hormones break down your body. That the more bothered she became about aging, the faster she would age. But if she could act as if her appearance did not bother her, if she could look at herself with acceptance and love, if she could focus on her inner vitality rather than her outer changes, she would not only feel better, but would actually look better. For peace and joy are the greatest beautifiers, and contentment is the fountain of youth. This same principle applies to every area of your life. If you are bothered by your job, you will never attract a better opportunity because you are vibrating at the frequency of dissatisfaction. If you are bothered by being single, you will never attract a healthy relationship because you are vibrating at the frequency of loneliness and lack. If you are bothered by your weight, you will sabotage every diet because you are reinforcing the identity of someone who struggles with weight. But when you stop being bothered, when you act as if you are already complete and satisfied exactly as you are, you create the inner conditions that allow transformation to occur naturally, effortlessly, and you stop blocking the good that is trying to reach you through your resistance and complaint. Consider how much of your mental and emotional energy is consumed by things you cannot control, by the past that cannot be changed, by other people's choices that are none of your business, by world events that you are powerless to prevent, by weather and traffic and technology and the countless variables that make up daily existence, and recognize that every moment you spend being bothered by these things is a moment stolen from your joy, from your creativity, from your ability to make a difference where you actually can make a difference. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not pretending these things do not exist. You are refusing to give them your power. You are acknowledging their existence without allowing them to affect your inner state. You are practicing the serenity prayer in action, accepting what you cannot change, finding the courage to change what you can, and developing the wisdom to know the difference. A man told Dr. Joseph Murphy that the state of the world bothered him constantly, that he read the news and felt overwhelmed by all the problems, all the suffering, all the injustice, and he felt guilty for not being bothered, as if caring required being disturbed. And Dr. Joseph Murphy explained that you serve no one by adding your anxiety to the world's anxiety, that you help no one by being miserable about misery, that the highest service you can offer is to remain at peace, to hold the vision of a better world, to be the change you wish to see, to radiate the energy of hope and faith and love. And you cannot do any of this if you are constantly bothered and upset, for you cannot lift others while you are drowning. You cannot spread light while you are consumed by darkness. You cannot heal the world until you have healed yourself. And healing yourself begins with the decision to act as if nothing bothers you, to refuse to participate in the collective anxiety, to stand firm in your peace, regardless of what the world presents to you. And this is not selfishness. This is the highest form of contribution. For one person at peace does more good than 1,000 people in panic. You must also learn to use the practice of acting as if nothing bothers you as a tool for discernment, for revealing what truly matters and what is merely noise, for distinguishing between genuine concerns that require your attention and petty annoyances that deserve only to be ignored. When you commit to remaining unbothered, you quickly discover that 90% of what used to disturb you was not worth your energy, was not worth your time, was not worth sacrificing your peace. And the 10% that truly matters becomes crystal clear, and you can address it calmly, effectively, and powerfully without the drama and chaos that usually accompany problems when you approach them from a disturbed state. A woman told Dr. Joseph Murphy that she felt constantly overwhelmed by her responsibilities, that everything seemed urgent, everything seemed important, everything seemed to demand her immediate attention, and she could not decide what to do first. And he taught her to act as if none of it bothered her, to step back from the perceived urgency, to observe her life from a place of peace rather than panic. And from that place of peace, the priorities revealed themselves naturally. The truly important tasks became obvious. The rest fell away as unimportant, and she found herself accomplishing more in less time with less stress, because she was no longer scattering her energy in reaction to every demand, but was instead focusing her energy on what truly mattered. This is the power of acting as if nothing bothers you. It creates clarity. It reveals truth. It shows you what is real and what is illusion, what deserves your energy and what deserves your indifference. And the more you practice it, the more efficiently you move through life. The less time you waste on drama and disturbance, the more focused and productive and peaceful you become. And people begin to notice the change in you. They feel your stability. They sense your strength. They are drawn to your peace. And you become a source of calm in a world of chaos, a light in a world of darkness, a demonstration of what is possible when you refuse to be bothered. The practice deepens when you begin to apply it preemptively, when you act as if nothing bothers you before anything actually happens, when you build such a strong foundation of inner peace that disturbances cannot even take root, when your consciousness becomes so firmly established in tranquility that troubles simply bounce off you without penetrating. This is the difference between defensive and offensive practice, between reacting to disturbances after they arise and preventing them from arising in the first place through the cultivation of a consciousness that is naturally unbotherable. Every morning when you wake, before you face the day, before you encounter any challenges or difficulties, Spend time affirming that you are at peace, that nothing can disturb you, that you move through this day calm and centered regardless of what occurs. And feel this peace settling into your bones, into your cells, into the very foundation of your being. And then when difficulties do arise, as they inevitably will, they meet an immovable object. They encounter a consciousness that has already decided to remain at peace, and they have no power to disturb you because you have already claimed your peace in advance. A man told Dr. Joseph Murphy that he worked in a very stressful environment, that every day brought new crises and conflicts, and Dr. Joseph Murphy taught him this practice of morning affirmation, of claiming peace before entering the battlefield. And the man discovered that the environment itself seemed to change, that crises became less frequent, that conflicts resolved themselves more easily. And he realized that much of what he had perceived as a stressful environment was actually his own stressed consciousness, projecting stress onto neutral circumstances. And when he changed his inner state, the outer environment had no choice but to reflect his new consciousness. For we do not see things as they are, we see things as we are, and when we are at peace, we see a peaceful world. When we are unbothered, we encounter an unbotherable existence. Now you must understand that the ultimate purpose of acting as if nothing bothers you is not merely to achieve personal peace, though that is a worthy goal, but to become a transparent vessel through which divine power can flow unobstructed. For when you are disturbed, when you are bothered, when you are upset and anxious and afraid, you block the flow of good into your life. You create resistance in your consciousness that prevents the infinite intelligence from working through you. You become like a kinked hose that stops the water from flowing, and no matter how much pressure is behind that water, it cannot reach its destination until the kink is removed, until the obstruction is cleared, until the channel is opened. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you remove the kink, you clear the channel, you become an open conduit for miracles, for inspiration, for divine guidance, for the manifestation of your heart's desires, and things begin to happen in your life that cannot be explained by ordinary logic. Opportunities appear from nowhere, problems solve themselves, people show up at exactly the right time with exactly what you need, because you are no longer interfering with the natural flow of good through your resistance and disturbance. A woman came to Dr. Joseph Murphy with a desperate situation. Her child was very ill. The doctors had given little hope, and she was consumed with worry and fear. And Dr. Joseph Murphy told her that her worry was not helping her child, that her fear was actually making the situation worse by holding the image of illness in her consciousness. And he instructed her to act as if her child was already healed, to feel the relief and joy she would feel when the child was well, to thank God in advance for the healing, to refuse to be bothered by the doctor's pronouncements or the appearance of symptoms, and she practiced this faithfully. She acted as if nothing was wrong, even though everything appeared to be wrong, and within days the child began to improve, and soon made a complete recovery that astonished the medical staff, because the mother had removed her resistance, had opened the channel, and had allowed the healing power that was always present to do its perfect work. This is not magic, this is law. This is the way consciousness works. This is the principle that governs all manifestation. And when you understand it and apply it consistently, you become master of your fate, captain of your soul, creator of your destiny. You must also recognize that acting as if nothing bothers you is an act of faith, a declaration that you trust the universe, that you believe in a power greater than your circumstances, that you know beyond doubt that all things are working together for your good, even when you cannot see how. Faith is not the absence of challenges. Faith is the presence of peace in the midst of challenges. Faith is not pretending problems do not exist. Faith is knowing that problems are temporary and solutions are inevitable. Faith is not blind optimism. Faith is intelligent, confidence in the law of good, in the principle of harmony, in the power of right thinking to produce right results. When you are bothered by circumstances, you are demonstrating lack of faith. You are saying through your disturbance that you do not trust life, that you do not believe in divine providence, that you think you are alone and must solve everything through your own limited human effort. But when you act as if nothing bothers you, you are demonstrating supreme faith. You are saying that you trust completely, that you know you are guided and protected, that you understand there is an infinite intelligence managing every detail of your existence far better than you could manage it yourself. A man told Dr. Joseph Murphy that this seemed like irresponsible passivity, that surely we must take action, that we cannot just sit back and act as if everything is fine when clearly it is not. And Dr. Murphy explained that there is inspired action and there is panicked reaction. That when you act from a place of peace and faith, you receive clear guidance about what to do and when to do it. But when you act from a place of disturbance and fear, you make mistakes. You create more problems. You exhaust yourself with fruitless effort. And he said that the most productive people are those who have learned to wait for inspired action, to move when the way is clear, to rest in faith until the right path reveals itself. And this is not passivity. This is wisdom. This is the highest form of efficiency. For one action taken from inspiration accomplishes more than 1,000 actions taken from desperation. One decision made from peace produces better results than 100 decisions made from panic. The practice of acting as if nothing bothers you must extend to your past as well as your present. For many people are bothered not by what is happening now, but by what happened years ago. They carry grievances and resentments like heavy stones. They replay old hurts and nurse ancient wounds. They remain prisoners of events that no longer exist except in their memory, and this prevents them from experiencing the freedom and joy that is available in this present moment. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you include the past in your indifference. You refuse to give old stories power over your present reality. You understand that what happened before has no power to disturb you unless you keep it alive through constant repetition and emotional investment. And you can at any moment decide to drop the past, to release the grievance, to forgive the offense. Not because the other person deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Not because what happened was acceptable, but because carrying the burden of resentment hurts only you. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to let go. A woman told Dr. Joseph Murphy that she had been wronged terribly by her former business partner, that the betrayal had cost her everything, and even though years had passed, she could not stop thinking about it, could not stop feeling angry, could not forgive. And Dr. Murphy asked her what she had gained by holding on to this anger for so many years. And she realized she had gained nothing. That the anger had poisoned her relationships, had damaged her health, had prevented her from building a new business, had stolen her joy and her peace, and all while the former partner had moved on and was living a successful life completely unbothered by her resentment. Dr. Murphy taught her to act as if the betrayal had never happened, to refuse to rehearse the story, to decline to feed the anger, to consciously choose peace every time the memory arose. And gradually the charge began to dissipate, the story lost its power, the past released its grip. And she was free to build a new future, unburdened by old pain. And within a short time her business began to flourish again. Her health improved, her relationships deepened, because she had removed the obstruction, had opened the channel, had chosen peace over perpetual disturbance. Finally, you must understand that learning to act as if nothing bothers you is not a destination but a journey, not a state you achieve once and maintain forever, but a practice you return to again and again, a skill you develop gradually through patient persistence, a consciousness you build layer by layer through consistent application of principle. And there will be times when you forget, when something catches you off guard and you react in the old way, when you fall back into the habit of being bothered. And in these moments, you must not be bothered by the fact that you are bothered. You must not add self-judgment to disturbance. You must simply observe what happened, learn from it, and begin again with renewed commitment. For every moment is a new opportunity. Every breath is a fresh start. Every situation is another chance to practice, choosing peace over panic, calm over chaos, faith over fear. The universe is infinitely patient with your progress. There is no deadline for your enlightenment. There is no punishment for your mistakes. There is only the eternal present moment in which you can always choose differently, in which you can always return to peace, in which you can always act as if nothing bothers you, regardless of how many times you have failed to do so before. Dr. Joseph Murphy often said that the only failure is the failure to persist, that the only real mistake is giving up, that every great achievement in consciousness comes through repeated practice, through falling and rising, through forgetting and remembering, through struggle and surrender, and eventually, through persistence, the practice becomes natural, the acting becomes being, the pretense becomes reality. And you discover that you are no longer acting as if nothing bothers you. You have actually become someone who is genuinely unbothered, whose peace runs so deep that surface disturbances cannot reach it, whose faith is so strong that circumstances cannot shake it, whose consciousness is so firmly rooted in truth that illusion cannot deceive it. And you realize that this was who you always were beneath the conditioning, beneath the programming, beneath the learned patterns of reaction and disturbance, that your true nature is peace, your essential being is calm, your fundamental reality is unshakable tranquility. And all you have done through this practice is remember who you really are. Reclaim what was always yours. Return to the state of consciousness that is your divine inheritance. And, aid from this state, you move through the world, touching everything with peace, transforming everything with love, healing everything with the power of your undisturbed presence. And this is the ultimate gift you give to yourself and to the world. This is the highest achievement of human consciousness. This is the fulfillment of your purpose, to be the peace you wish to see, to demonstrate the possibility that a human being can live in this world of constant change and challenge and chaos completely unbothered, completely at peace, completely free. And in your freedom, others find permission to be free. In your peace, others discover their own peace. In your demonstration, others see what is possible. And the practice that began as your own personal healing becomes a healing for all whom you encounter, and thus the simple act of learning to act as if nothing bothers you transforms not only your life but ripples out to transform the world.